So I travel. I've done about 300 talks in the last 4 years across the UK. Been to the States a few times, and across Europe, sharing my story, talking about the lightless sky and why I left Afghanistan, why do Afghan leave Afghanistan, and what happens on the journey. I travel across half of the world, 11,000 miles. I was in prison in almost every country that I went through as a child. I mean, it was a very difficult journey, to say the least, full of hardships. And I left Afghanistan because of the conflict in the war that has been happening there. And Afghan used to be the largest refugee population in the world, and now they are the second largest, unfortunately, since the Syrian conflict had begun in 2014. And I was forced to flee, and like many Afghans, many Syrians and Iraqis, people from Eritrea, Somalia, and Sudan. I was unfortunately not welcomed across the countries that I traveled through: Iran, Turkey, Bulgaria. I was arrested, imprisoned, deported in most cases, and I was in the hands and mercy of smugglers, traffickers. But thankfully, I made it to the UK after a year-long adversity, a year-long journey. I spent a month in Calais in the jungle, which was a very miserable place. It was very humiliating to be there. It was literally, it was called the jungle. It was the jungle. And actually, it's sad that that place still exists in a way. There are still people there. There are children there who are trying to come to the UK for whatever reason. And one of the reasons I was coming to the UK was because my brother was here, and also I was unwelcomed everywhere else. And so anyhow, I've been trying to challenge the myths and the negativities towards refugees, and to people to show some compassion and solidarity. And my experience has been in the last 4 years traveling across the UK. People are very welcoming. People are very generous. People are very kind. But the issue we have is they're a silent majority. They don't speak up. The things that we hear in the media, the people that write articles calls us a bunch of migrants. And there was an article the other day calling the people who crossed the channel, an invading army. And I mean, we have seen enough violence and conflict. That's the last thing people do, to leave their home, their country, and their family. I have not seen my mom for the last 12 years, and I very much miss her. And there has been lot has happened here and there. And if I had a choice to be anywhere, I want to be with my loved ones, and I don't want to be here, no matter how successful I become and so on. I ended up in the UK, and then getting to the UK wasn't the end, and that's the sad part. So when refugees arrives in their host country, the destination they want to go, or they needs to go for whatever reason, family, culture, language, all sorts of reasons, I thought Britain will be a place of welcome. I will be treated with justice, respect and dignity, and perhaps, Britain is famous for equality and freedom and so on. It was true to an extent, but the asylum process, going through social services where my age was disputed, where I was disbelieved, literally I was seen as a suspect, as a criminal. It took me 2 years to convince social services in the Home Office that I was an Afghan national. I remember they threatened to deport me twice. I still don't really know where they were deporting me to, because they didn't think I was from Afghanistan. And it took me 5 years to get my refugee status, to be recognized as refugees. I don't like labels. I mean, when I talk to the media, they always want to put refugee. I don't mind, that's my legal kind of status and situation. And sometimes when I travel a lot and I get stopped, I have a UN travel document, which Nigel Farage wants you all to have. It's pretty useless. It gets me to 15 EU countries without visa, and I get stopped always going and coming back, and it's quite embarrassing standing in the. I have to get a visa. I have to get a stamp at the desk, checking desk, and then when I go through to board the plane, then I'm stopped, and the people they just don't know. The people who are boarding me on Ryanair, they just don't know what it is, and can I use it or not? They always call to make sure that I'm okay to travel. Even though I have a stamp which says I'm okay to travel, I don't need a visa. And it's quite embarrassing, and it happens almost, and every time I travel, I've done over 150 journeys across the world, Europe, and so on. Anyhow, so getting to the UK wasn't the end. This was the beginning of an end. So it took me so long, and I was in illegal limbo. I thought there was no point to life. I did not lose hope on the journey, the year-long journey at the age of 12. I was very lucky to be accompanied by other refugees, people who became like my brothers, became family to me, who supported me. Even though we were treated as a commodity by the smugglers, we were treated inhumanely, not only by the authorities, which was really sad. The authorities, I expected them to show respect for our human rights and to show some sort of care because we were children. We were just people who were fleeing for our lives, and we deserved to be treated humanely. If they couldn't help us, they couldn't give us asylum, at least they could have been nice to us. But that wasn't the case. And so the UK system made me lose hope. The bureaucracy made me lose hope. But then I didn't give up. I went on, and after fighting the Home Office and social services, there was a time where they wanted to negotiate my age, which was really funny, because when they did my age assessment, they said, you're not 13, you're 16 and a half, you're too smart, you're too intelligent. I was like, sorry, I can't help it. Like, that's who I am. But, and then, when they kind of come to the realization that I provided him with like my birth certificate, my Afghan passport later on, and then they said, because when I arrived, I had no documents, so I was undocumented. And they said, basically, we will accept the day and the month of your birth, but not the year. And I was like, that's amazing. Now my age is up for negotiation. Like, it's like my essence of my life was questioned, and I thought there was no point to life, on many occasions, sadly. So finally, I managed to overcome all those hurdles and difficulties and barriers, thankfully, because there were people who supported me. They were like my teachers, some social workers, and people who mentored me, who befriended me, and who was very kind, who were kind enough to believe in me. And then so I was able to start school. I went to school in year 10. The school did not expect me to get 1 GCSEs, neither did I, because I didn't speak any English. I had a very limited English. I managed to get 10 GCSEs, all A to Cs, and the college, the sixth form I was going to, they wanted 5 A to Cs, and I got them 10, which I was very proud. And then when I left school, I wanted to leave a legacy as such, that not only did I get like 50 certificates of achievements, part of the school council, the Senate, ambassador, prefect, and so on. And 8 years later, they still invite me to present awards and certificates, and actually have named an award after me. It's called Gulwali Passarlay Award for Overcoming Adversity. And so every year I have the privilege to present the award to someone. And it's very humbling, and it's, but actually I said, look, I'm still alive. Why would you name an award after me? Because I'm not dead yet. So but it's great. And then the book is something that I'm very proud of, that I give a voice to the voiceless, trying to be a spokesperson for refugees, even though it's a huge responsibility, campaigning and advocating for refugees' rights, getting people to think, talk about family reunification, get people to, write to their MPs and talk to policymakers around lifting the ban, allowing asylum seekers to work. That's like the main campaign that is happening now, and then ending detention. We are the only country in Europe which have no limits on detention. Like we lecture people on human rights and democracy and the rule of law and so on, but we just don't treat refugees or asylum seekers the way that we should be treating them, and we should be leading in this humanitarian crisis. And so after school, I went to college, did my A-levels, and then I went on to do my degree at the University of Manchester. I never ever thought that one day I will go to university because of my circumstances, my situation. I had issue with my status, and it was a lot of implications on the way, and everywhere I went, there will always be a wall that I had to go through, or I had to fight through the bureaucracy. But I managed to get my politics degree, graduated in 2016, when I actually wrote the book as well, and then went on to do my master's and graduated from Coventry 2 months ago. And so recently I've also set up a charity called My Bright Kite. It's not really a charity, it's like an interest community company. And so My Bright Kite, it's based in Leeds, and I'm a co-founder of it, and we help refugees, young refugees, feel included, feel empowered, and help them achieve their full potential. We run youth groups with young refugees. We work with, for example, young British children to make messages of friendship and make bracelets, make messages and make stuff. We send them back to Jordan, to refugee camps, and in Calais, as well as in Greece. So My Bright Kite has kind of come along because of the book and the work that I've been doing, raising awareness, and I really wanted to do something directly with young refugees, and hope to be a role model for them, and hope to encourage them, because if I could do it, they can do it too. And so, thank you so much for listening. I wish you a wonderful day, and I will be around to talk to you later. I just, I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak. And Mo, thank you very much. And yes, thank you.